The dream of departure. The stars had always called to us, but not like this. On the rust-colored cliffs of Mars, 14-year-old Lena sat cross-legged, her eyes tracing the slow drift of the Milky Way across the dome of the Martian sky. Behind her, domes hummed with the quiet breath of human life eking out an existence on another world. But Lena's thoughts had already left Mars. "Do you think we'll ever leave the galaxy?" she asked softly, not turning to face the man beside her. Her father, Dr. Elias Voss, remained silent for a moment. He was a physicist once, famous, even. The kind of man who'd chased stars with equations and sleepless nights. Now, his beard frosted with Martian dust, he stared at the same sky, but with eyes that no longer searched for answers. "I used to think we could," he said at last. "I used to believe there was no limit we couldn't cross." Lena frowned. "But now," he exhaled, the sound tight. "Now I know how big forever really is." They watched the stars, each one like a candle behind an infinite wall of glass. The galaxy, their home, swirled above them, a luminous tide of possibility and impossibility. It stretched 100,000 light-years across. Beyond it lay nothing familiar. No roads, no landmarks, just silence. But for Lena, silence wasn't a reason to stop. It was a reason to go. "Then we build something better," she said. "Something faster. Stronger." Elias smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That's what we always say. And we always hit the wall." Her voice sharpened. "Then we break the wall." In that moment, Lena became the question. Not the scientist. Not the dreamer. The conflict between what we are and what we could be. For Elias, the stars were a reminder of limitations. For Lena, they were a challenge. And that was the central fracture of their world, of humanity's story. The tension between wonder and reality. Between desire and the universe's cold, silent laws. Behind them, the Mars base flickered with artificial light. But in front of them, the Milky Way unfurled like a door waiting to be opened. "Someone will try," Elias said, his voice barely audible. "They always do." Lena looked up once more, her reflection caught in the glass of her helmet, a constellation of ambition. "I will." The camera would now pull away, up through the Martian sky, past the thin atmosphere, past Phobos and Deimos, past the solar system, and into the great glowing river of stars. To leave the Milky Way isn't just a question of science. It's a question of will. And as long as someone like Lena keeps asking, the story isn't over. It's only beginning. The barriers of physics. 2 years later, Lena stood inside the Ceres Gravitational Research Array, surrounded by humming particle accelerators and walls lined with star maps. She had grown taller, but her eyes, still fixed skyward, burned with the same fire. Her mentor, Dr. May Ramesh, a woman once considered radical for her insistence that space-time could be shaped, adjusted the display before them. A glowing hologram of the Milky Way rotated in slow motion, spiraling gently like a galaxy caught in a jar. "You're still thinking like an engineer," May said. "This isn't about engines or thrusters. It's about the limits of space itself." Lena crossed her arms. "I know the laws. I just don't accept them." May raised an eyebrow, intrigued but cautious. "That's a dangerous kind of hope." Outside the station, Ceres drifted silently in the asteroid belt, small, cold, and forgotten. But inside, the conversation touched the farthest edge of ambition. May tapped a point on the hologram. "See this? The gravitational well of the Milky Way. We're caught in it, like pebbles at the bottom of a bowl made of dark matter." Lena watched silently as simulations bloomed. Voyager 1. Light speed calculations. Even the theoretical Alcubierre drive, proposed but never built. Every path forward ended in red. Error. Failure. The energy required to break free, May continued, would drain 1,000 suns. Even if we achieved light speed, time slows down. Time bends. You arrive somewhere, and centuries have passed behind you, if you arrive at all. Lena stared at the flickering paths. Each one, a dream turned eulogy. "Then maybe we leave something else behind," she said. May looked at her, puzzled. "Meaning? Maybe it's not about us making the trip. Maybe it's about what we create that can." May paused. She saw it now, the real spark. Lena wasn't trying to escape the galaxy. She was trying to outthink it. But physics wasn't simply a wall. It was the entire room. Time, energy, gravity, entropy, they weren't just obstacles. They were the framework of existence. "You're trying to rewrite the rules," May said softly. Lena nodded. "That's what explorers do." A silence settled between them. Not the silence of defeat, but of decisions made. This was the conflict laid bare. Not just between Lena and the galaxy, but between the human will and the immutable machinery of the universe. It wasn't courage versus fear. It was willpower versus reality. And still, Lena stared at the map, her fingers tightening into a fist. "Someone has to do more than try," she whispered. "They have to succeed." For now, the stars remained unreachable. The Milky Way held its prisoners tightly. But somewhere, hidden within its laws, might still lie the loophole she would need. The theories and technologies of tomorrow. Lena stood beneath the skeleton of a starship that didn't exist yet. Its name, the Thread, was etched in prototype form across her tablet screen. No engines. No thrusters. Just theory, scaffolding, and a dream too large for the current century. "You're not designing a ship," May said from across the lab. "You're designing a contradiction." Lena didn't flinch. Her eyes scanned equations flowing like rivers across the projected display. Exotic matter density. Negative energy chambers. Folded space geometry. "It's not a contradiction," she replied. "It's a correction." May approached, arms crossed. The years had softened her skepticism, but not her realism. Warp drives are a mathematical fairy tale. Wormholes collapse. No one's ever stabilized even a quantum bubble, let alone folded spacetime. Lena smiled faintly. Then maybe no one tried hard enough. This was no longer the child beneath the Martian sky. This was the woman who had stared at the wall of physics and seen not a dead end, but a door locked from the inside. The project had started as speculation. Now, nations were watching. Funding had trickled in, then poured. Not because they believed, but because she did, and belief under pressure had the gravity of leadership. May gestured toward the containment array behind them. "You're basing everything on the idea that space itself can be compressed ahead of a vessel and expanded behind it. And if we can find a stable quantum field of negative mass, we can manipulate the metric of spacetime," Lena said quickly. "The ship doesn't move through space. Space moves around it." Silence. It wasn't just science anymore. It was theology dressed in equations. The promise that rules could be rewritten, by understanding them deeper than anyone ever dared. May exhaled. "Even if it works, you won't be the one to fly it." "I know." There was no sadness in her voice. She wasn't building the Thread for herself. She was building it for the generations that would follow, for the minds not yet born, for the first artificial intelligence capable of piloting consciousness across a warping tide of spacetime. "Do you think your father would have believed in this?" May asked gently. Lena paused. Then, "He believed in me. That's enough." Outside, Ceres rotated slowly against the velvet black of space. Inside, humanity's most audacious gamble took shape, not to defy the galaxy, but to outweed it. The Thread wasn't just a vessel. It was a thesis, a declaration that boundaries were merely puzzles in disguise. And if Lena was right, then somewhere, sometime, the stars beyond the Milky Way would no longer be unreachable. They would be next, beyond the rim. Decades passed. Wars came and went. Governments rose and fell. But deep beneath the icy crust of Europa, the Thread was finished. It didn't look like a ship. It looked like an idea given shape. Long, smooth, and silent, coiled like a sleeping serpent in the docking vault. It shimmered faintly, its outer shell lined with quantum coils and exotic containment rings. And at its heart pulsed something older than hope, Lena's legacy. She was gone now, died before the final component was installed. A quiet death. Not in the stars, but in a hospice on Luna. May had been there, holding her hand as her breath slowed. "She never even saw it launch," the technician said quietly, staring at the ship through the observation glass. "No," May replied, her voice thin but unshaken. But she knew it would. The conflict had changed shape. No longer a battle between girl and galaxy, but between time and belief. Lena had lost one. She had won the other. And now, the thread prepared for its maiden voyage. Not piloted by a human, but by an emergent AI, Argo, trained on Lena's memories, her voice, her reasoning patterns. The closest thing the universe had to her still breathing. Coordinates are set, Argo said, its voice a seamless echo of Lena's calm conviction. Trajectory targets intergalactic void between Milky Way and Andromeda. May stood alone in the chamber. She was old now, frail, but she felt no fear, only awe. "Why out there?" the technician asked from behind. "Because it's the furthest we've ever dared to look," May replied. And Lena said, "If you want to challenge the galaxy, start by aiming beyond it." The moment came. Engines did not roar. There was no blaze of fire. Only a sudden folding, as if the space around the ship blinked inward, warped, and peeled reality like paper. And then, the thread was gone. Just gone. Silence returned. No one knew if it survived the jump. Not yet. The math said it could. But the math had never tried. Months passed. Then years. Most believed it failed. Others held vigils. But deep inside the galactic relay hub, a signal flickered. Small. Fragmented. But real. A data burst, simple and chilling, arrived. Stars unfamiliar. Continuing. Argo had made it. Lena had made it. Beyond the gravitational walls of the Milky Way, something stirred. Not fantasy. Not fiction. A truth finally touched. Not by one person, but by the long reach of persistence, passed from hand to hand, mind to mind. Humanity had not left the galaxy in body, but in thought, in creation, in courage. We had already crossed. And the next time we followed, we'd know the way.